Next up, middleweight scrap here as we have Cody Brundage coming in at plus 170 going up against Andre Petroski, who comes in at minus 200. Now here we have once again another Cody Brundage fight. This guy is staying very active. I believe this will be his third fight of 2026, taking any and all comers, whether it's short notice or not. And I think that's a large reason why the UFC is keeping him around. But he's getting damn near close to having a 500 record through 22 fights or 22 pro fights all in all. He continues to go out there. He continues to say yes, and he continues to lose, right? The Cam Roston fight, really struggling in that fight to deal with whatever Roston was throwing back at him. Obviously, Roston was able to eventually get the finish in the second round. He started off the Deontay Johnson fight pretty well. He took Johnson down immediately, was able to grind out at least 3 minutes of that first round, not landing a whole lot of damage while controlling though. And then when they got back to the feet, Johnson was on the gas, but Brundage did a decent enough job, even fighting off of his back foot, landing that jab down the pipe and kind of thwarting the aggression of Johnson. Round 2, Brundage tried going back to the takedown, got sprawled on, and Johnson was able to control the rest of that round while landing damage and defending the takedown from that top position. Third round, a little bit more competitive. It was Johnson moving forward, trying to land his power, while Brundage was trying to land his jab in return. He landed a few good spots that really, snapped the head back of Johnson, but it was really hard to overlook the aggression and the big power shots that Johnson was throwing as he was walking Brundage down. So Brundage, again, as bad as a fighter or as soft of a fighter as a lot of people want to make him be, he's been able to stretch a lot of these fighters. He stretched Bo Nickel to the second round. He stretched Deontay Johnson, a guy who's finished pretty much all of his opponents in the first round. He's been able to stretch them to the scorecards for the first time, I believe, in his pro career. So sometimes he will show up, but he will break mentally and kind of just allow fighters to really take over, especially if he can't get that sustained success after round 1. Like, he'll throw heavy shots in round 1, he'll wrestle decently in round 1, but if he can't establish or dominate the pace of that of any fight, that's when we see him start to come up short. The crazy war he had against Julian Marquez is him kind of thriving at his best, but even that was a back and forth fight with both guys having a lot of success in terms of rocking and hurting each other. But again, he's 32, doesn't really jump off the page. His experience is probably the best asset in his game at this moment in time, but it really depends on the type of success he has early in fights to determine whether he will be able to do the same thing moving forward in rounds 2 and round 3. Now this weekend, he goes up against Andre Petroski, who's looking to buck a 2-fight losing streak. He did have a solid winning streak. I believe it was... He had a 5-fight winning streak to start his UFC career. Then he had those back-to-back losses to Michel Pereira and Jacob Malkoun. The Pereira fight, got absolutely dummied pretty quickly there. The Malkoun fight, he was doing very well in that first round. I remember having Malkoun as my lock of the night play that night. But then luckily, for me, in the second round, Petroski shoots a very strong double leg takedown, but ends up knocking himself out, or at least wobbling his equilibrium with the impact of his head hitting the hip of Malkoun. And we saw him kind of just fall over, and then Malkoun was able to follow up a ground and pound to get the win there. So very unfortunate loss there for Petroski, who's looking to bounce back to that loss from that loss to Pereira. Then he was able to put up a 3-fight winning streak over Josh Fremd, Dylan Budka, and then he went out there and outstruck Adolfo Vieira. Then he fell short against Edmund Shabazian. That was a fight where Shabazian did a great job in terms of managing his gas tank and really just outstriking Petroski, stopping the takedowns, and just utilizing that striking advantage. And then last time out, I believe it was back in September, where Petroski really struggled with the height and reach advantage of Cam Roston, and he tried crashing the pocket numerous times to land his power, but Roston was able to counter him effectively or get out of the way of those big shots. And then one of those blitz attacks saw Roston utilize a lead left hook, I believe it was, that rocked Petroski, dropped him. Petroski tried throwing up a few arm bars off his back, wasn't really successful with that, and then Roston pushed her up and got some ground and pound off to eventually get the finish there. So Petroski has been kind of flaky as well, similar to Cody Brundage. Not as badly as Brundage, but something to take into consideration there. Petroski at his best, smothering grappler, heavy top pressure, BJJ black belt, throws heat in his hands. I used to think his cardio was shit. He's definitely gotten better in the cardio realm as well. But he's a guy, in my opinion, who's kind of underachieved in the UFC, and he's getting up there in age now. He's 34 years old. It's getting closer to the end for him. Not saying he's shot at this point in time, but it's going to get harder for him to achieve his dreams of getting UFC gold wrapped around his waist. I think that dream is kind of gone, but he could still find himself amongst the top 15 if he's able to start rolling once again. Now here against Cody Brundage, I feel very similarly about both of these guys for some reason. Obviously, I think Petroski is much better than Brundage, but I don't think Petroski wins this fight at a minus 200 clip. I think this is a fight that will play out a little bit closer than that. Who's to say that Brundage can't land big power and knock Petroski out early in this fight? In terms of the wrestling, I think this could be somewhat competitive, especially early, but I think Petroski will start to wear down Brundage, and I think that's where we'll see Petroski get to his wrestling, and that should be enough for him to really start grinding this fight out. I'd kind of be surprised if he's able to get Brundage out of there unless it's an early finish. If this gets into the second round, I suspect we'll see this really start to go into deep water. We'll see enough resistance from Brundage to see the scorecards, but we'll also see good enough smothering grappling and top pressure from Petroski to grind this fight out and win it on the scorecards. I'll wait fight week out and see where this line ends up going, but I'll also be very interested in the Petroski decision prop if it's at anything at plus 200 or better. But I like Petroski here, and I think Petroski wins by decision.